I'm thinking about being authentic, and what you said struck me, which is being self-aware. And I think there's a lot of people, let alone salespeople, that aren't self-aware. And I think you're absolutely right. Like, you have to understand your strengths, your weaknesses, some of the areas where you need to improve. Like you mentioned, like, don't sell the way you want to be sold to. You have to sell the way that person or that company would resonate better for them. You have to think of them. It's not about you, right? It's about the audience, the client, the problem you're trying to solve, and how what's the best way to tackle it. Which leads me to being authentic. You also have to be strategic, right? To be authentic, you have to be self-aware, but you also have to be thoughtful and strategic, right?
Yeah, and that's where the persuasion piece fits in, right? So it's not just authenticity sales, right? It's about being the persuasion, which is very intentional, very strategic, with the right intention. But yeah, and that's why I say transform from order taker to quota breaker, because
Mm.
there's a lot of people who are authentic, empathetic, self-aware. They got some great traits, and they're hoping people buy from them, right? They're hoping to find that person who's going to reach out with the money and want to buy. The tipping point is using persuasion, being strategic, and then having a sales process that works.
And I think it's knowing when to start being. I use the word convince. You're using persuasion. I
Yep.
think they mean the
Yep.
same thing. It's you have to. You're when you start that process, right? You have to be invited to that process, but and you just got to know when the right timing is. A lot of people will start persuading or convincing too early, and it's a turnoff, right? So to me, it's a give and take, and you have to earn it to be able to get to that point where you can provide persuasion. But I guess what you're saying is it starts off with being empathetic, authentic, which will lead to you being able to persuade, influence, convince the buyer that you're the right person, the right company, the right solution.
100%. And the framework that I've used, and I've tried to figure out better ways to spell this out or better words to use, but I can't. Is rapport, empathy, trust, hope, and urgency. It doesn't spell anything. Refu is the best I could ever come up with. But the words are so clear, and I've tried coming up with different words to be snazzy, but it doesn't matter. So rapport, empathy, trust, hope, and urgency. That applies to any sales process, business to business, business to consumer. I've used it in all of it. I've taught people, and you have to do it in that order, and you have to do them completely. So you have to build rapport, then you have to show empathy, which is the discovery questions. Typically get them talking,
Mm-hmm.
dig deep, build that trust, which is then where you talk about yourself, but not really before then, and then give them the hope, which is, hey, you've got problem X, I've got solution X. And then the urgency is all about the time is always now. It's now. We've got to fix this now. But you've got to do it in that order. And when you do, it just builds on itself. But the problem, like you're saying, is some people try to do it too early, right? They're
Mm-hmm.
trying to do the trust too early. In the first 30 seconds, the salesperson's giving the long monologue about how amazing they are, how many awards they've won, how many logos are on their website and their client list, and like nobody cares because they don't know if you even care yet. And so it's got to be that order. But then once you get to a certain point, then it's game on. Then it's all about that convincing, persuading, closing.
So when you're trying to train, coach, teach salespeople this kind of framework, what are some of the things they can do to help them with this framework in practice?
The biggest thing is the mindset shift to realizing that if you're operating like a professional and your goal is to help the other person get to a better place with or without your product or service, is it's actually your duty and responsibility to serve them and help them get there, right? It's not something you're doing to them, it's something you're doing for them and with them, which is a big shift. I see a lot of people who end up on the order taker end of the scale, and they're afraid of pushing someone because they don't want to do something to somebody. But you're not, right? Like, I want to sell you this because I know it will help you. And if I don't sell this to you and I don't get you to agree, then you're just going to put your head back in the sand. Your business could go under. You could lose your job. You could lose your home, like whatever it is that you're helping people with. And it totally shifts it from all about me and my deal and my commission and ringing the bell to, like, I need to do this for you, like you were my best friend who's in trouble.
Yeah. You have to do it with the understanding that you're not expecting anything in exchange. And to do that, you've really got to be authentic.
And when you shift it to your duty or responsibility and you push somebody hard, right? Like if somebody listened to some of my calls, they're like, dude, you push them really hard. I do it because I care. And if they ever call me out on it, say, man, why are you pushing me so hard? It's because I just know. I know if you don't buy this, I know what's going to happen,
Yeah.
right? I can already forecast it in my
Yep.
head. And I just know. Or what could happen is you don't buy from me. You go down the street, you buy from somebody else. They don't care about you and they rip you off or they sell you something that you don't really need, and you're in a bad place, and then I feel bad. Like I would feel like I let you down.